My name's Laura, I'm the bakery job coach. I've been in the role since July, but before that I was an education autism practitioner for lower skill. So I've been here coming up to 3 years now. This is my 4th academic year. The bakery is a really unique place because it's exactly like the rest of the school in that it's structured, we have schedules, we have symbols, we can ask for help, we can ask for breaks. So when the young people come in here, they're learning a range of skills, some that are really bakery specific and some that are skills that are going to cross all the areas of their life. So within the bakery, we're doing a lot of weighing, using digital scales. We're using commercial mixers and smaller mixers. We're using proving units, like big, massive commercial proving units that you would in a standard bakery, and big blast door ovens. But then they're using other skills that would work across other vocational areas. So when you come in, you have to put your uniform on, you have to wear the correct PPE, you have to wash your hands, you have to follow workplace rules, and you have to be able to communicate effectively as well. And that's going to help them across their entire lives and their entire areas of their lives. And we're also trying to support the young people using functional academics as well. So not just the vocational skills that they would use in upper school, but the things that they've learned coming up through lower school as well. So for instance, maths, when we are weighing things out, we're not just sort of having a set number, we're trying to understand the comprehension behind it as well. So what does that number mean? How much more do I need to make up that number? How much do I need to take out? So it's not just learning set routines, it's time to understand the comprehension behind it as well and get that little bit more understanding when we're looking at functional academics as well. The bakery is exactly the same as the rest of the school. Some young people come in and instantly get it, absolutely love it, straight in, no issues. Some people take a lot of time. So Ollie, for instance, who you filmed today, he took a lot of time to just get through the door. So being able to come in the door, know that he has to put a uniform on, enter a new space and follow a different schedule inside a different space was a massive change for him. And initially, he would do things to get out of coming into the bakery. And I think that was just an initial anxiety about being in a completely new space that looks different to anything he's ever been in before. But he's come on massively, especially in the last few weeks. So whereas before, it was a really big issue for him to leave the session halfway through, take off his uniform and go to the toilet, he wouldn't be able to put his uniform back on because once that uniform had come off, the session had finished and that was sort of finished in his head and he wouldn't be able to come back in. Whereas now, he can sign in the middle of a session, I need the toilet, take off his uniform, do what he needs to do, wash his hands, uniform back on, straight back in. And that level of anxiety about that has reduced massively. And I think him just being able to have that little bit of extra flexibility is massive for him, and that's going to really make a positive impact on the rest of his life as well, not just in the bakery. But in comparison between Ollie and James, so James has come in, he's only been in Priors Court a couple of months, he's just moved here to the adult provision, walked straight in, uniform straight on, got straight on with everything that he needs to do. So the difference in the young people that we have is vast. And especially when you look at sort of Ollie, who needs support but can do a lot of things himself. And then you've got James, who's completely independent. And then you've got one of our new starters, Daniel, who's only been in the bakery twice. And we're starting him at a stage where I do things in the bakery and he just stands and watches. So there's a lot of difference between the young people who can just come in and stand and watch, the ones that can have a go, and have a bit of understanding, and the young people that are just smashing it and are really mastering the skills. Ollie comes in and he's excited to come, so I go and collect him from his house, and the moment I pick him up and he sees me, he signs to me biscuits and mixing, he knows what he's doing, and I think he's excited to come. So now we come in, his uniform straight on, he knows how to wash his hands, we do a lot of the weighing, so he still will ask for help, but that's fine because that's a life skill that we want to teach you, we want to be able to ask for help. He can weigh, he can use the commercial mixer by following visuals, and a lot of the time now he'll follow the visuals so he learns what's coming next. And I think I've seen him, if something's not quite right, he can go back to it and fix it. So he's learning those processes and he's got a bit more understanding about the processes. Moving on from that, the things that he's learnt really well, so the kneading and rolling, cutting, moulding and scaling, he doesn't need a lot of prompt with that anymore. So whereas before I would be stood doing it and his hands would be on top of my hand, or he'd do it for a little bit and then he'd ask for help. Now he can just keep going and going, and he can do a lot of those things himself for a long time. And he's just come on leaps and bounds. He's nowhere near as anxious as he was, so his anxiety levels have reduced right down. And like I said before, he's really come on with being able to take his uniform off, stop doing activity, and then come back to it and put his uniform back on. So that flexibility of thinking's increased as well. So I think working in the bakery is suited to the young people that we have, because everything follows a process and everything follows a structure, and that process doesn't change. So for instance, the recipes for bread never changes, the recipes for biscuits and muffins never changes, and they can know that they can come in here and that every step they follow is the same step that it's been for hundreds of years since people have been baking bread. And the only things that change for them or adapt for them is depending on when we make new things. So for instance, with James we've been making small loaves, large loaves and baguettes, but it's the same recipe. So he's following the same recipe, he's following the same process, but there's only small bits of it that have changed. So I think that for our children that follow structure so well and like things to be so structured and so concrete, having set phases all the time is just really good for them. And I think it takes away any sort of unpredictability for them. I'm just really, really proud of them all the time, and every time we even make a small step, it's really exciting for both of us. It's not just for me, it's for them as well. So I'm really proud, I'm really excited. I'm constantly sending pictures to Dan from marketing and harassing him, saying, look at what the kids are doing now, you know, I'm so excited for them. And I think for me, so we've got Ricardo and James, who are sort of level 9, level 10, and we can bring them up one level, and that's brilliant. And then coming up one level and being independent is fantastic. But for me, the real pride comes when I have someone like Daniel or someone like Ollie, who started at level 3 or level 4 and is now level 7, 8. And they've made that massive jump, and they've come from not being able to even step into it to being able to complete full breaks. It just makes me so, so proud.